The first thing Rex Halden noticed about Alien 6 was that the gravity had a sense of humor. His boots hit the surface and immediately tried to flirt with his knees, sending him stumbling into a jagged rock that looked suspiciously like it had been laughing for 1,000 years. He groaned, rolled onto his back, and stared up at the sky, which boasted twin suns, pretending to be modest but radiating like drama queens. "Great," he muttered. Crash landed on the only planet in the quadrant that thinks yoga should be compulsory. The shuttle was a smoking mess behind him, cracked open like a tin can attacked by an angry toddler with a crowbar. Systems offline, comms fried, emergency beacons sputtering like a drunk firefly. He hadn't seen the storm on radar, because apparently Alliance 6 didn't have storms. It had gravitational tsunamis, the kind that bent physics, broke satellites, and made atmospheric entry feel like wrestling with a black hole that was also going through a breakup. He ran a systems check on his wrist pad. The pad beeped and displayed the interstellar equivalent of a shrug. Oxygen levels acceptable for now. Radiation tolerable, assuming he didn't try to sunbathe naked. Temperature hovering at mildly hellish. All things considered, it could be worse. Then again, Rex had always had a talent for finding the bottom of worse and digging. He strapped on his survival pack, tightened the straps, and began trudging across the red-veined terrain, navigating through jagged mineral outcrops and shimmering growths that looked like fungi designed by someone with a glass-blowing fetish. The landscape buzzed faintly, not the buzz of insects, but a low ambient hum that tickled his molars and made his eyebrows twitch. Alien 6's surface was laced with a type of conductive crystal, alive with residual energy from a long-dead civilization. It made compasses cry and drones spin in circles. Useful. After an hour, he started talking to himself. "If I die out here," he said, "I'd like it on the record that it wasn't because of incompetence, it was gravity. And maybe the rock I tripped over, and possibly that weird bird thing that screeched at me from a bush made of quartz. But not incompetence." The bird thing screeched again, probably mocking him. He took shelter beneath a stone arch that shimmered faintly at its base. Something in the stone refracted light like water, bending the shadows into shapes that didn't belong. He leaned back against the wall, munching on a protein bar that tasted like desperation and beef, and closed his eyes. He didn't hear her approach. Not at first, just the faintest sound, like wind through silk, or a sigh held too long. Then a flicker. His eyes snapped open. A shape, half hidden among the stones ahead. Not an animal, not a reflection. A humanoid form, crouched just beyond a crystalline outcropping. His eyes adjusted, focusing on details that made no sense. Long ears, crimson skin, gleaming faintly like sunlit embers, hair dark as void light, tied back in braids that shimmered with coppery strands. She moved with the tense stillness of someone waiting for something to go wrong. He didn't reach for his blaster. He'd learned early on that pointing weapons at unknown beings was the fastest way to get disassembled or invited to dinner by creatures who thought bones made great garnish. He raised his hand slowly. "Hi, I'm Rex. Very lost. Extremely crashy. Possibly concussed. Definitely out of snack bars?" She didn't respond. Her eyes, silver with streaks of gold, studied him like he might explode. Or disappear. Or both. She wore simple garments that shimmered faintly like her surroundings, half camouflaged. Her long ears twitched once, then went still. He tried again. "I come in peace. Mostly because I forgot how to do violence ever since my taser tried to seduce a toaster. It was a whole thing. A blink. Then another. Still no movement. He glanced at his wrist pad. No life signs, no readings at all. As far as his gear was concerned, she didn't exist. "Okay, now that's just rude," he muttered. He took a cautious step forward. She vanished. No sound. No blur. Just gone. "Great. I hallucinated an elf," he said. "Either that or the planet's trying to mess with me. If she offers me riddles next, I'm out." He turned back toward the path, but something kept him anchored. A flicker of curiosity. Or maybe loneliness. Or maybe the fact that the last person he'd seen in weeks had just ghosted him like a bad first date. He turned back and said, to no one in particular, "You're beautiful." She reappeared, only for a second. Then her knees buckled. She stumbled, eyes wide, limbs stiff. Oh, no, 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 don't fall. He caught her, barely. She weighed about as much as a disappointed sigh, but was all awkward limbs and stiff muscle. Her body radiated heat, bioluminescent veins flickering along her skin like threads of living magma. Her pulse was a hummingbird trapped in a hurricane. She wasn't unconscious, just frozen. He gently lowered her to the ground. Was it something I said? She blinked once. Her mouth moved, but no sound came out. I swear that was a sincere compliment. You're literally glowing. That's a look where I'm from. A long pause, then she whispered, You should not have said that. Why, are compliments illegal here? Because if so, I'm doomed. I once told a Creelan priest his robes looked like an angry salad. Got knighted for that. She stared at him, disoriented. I am not functioning. Same, Rex said. But I usually blame coffee shortages. She struggled to sit up, muscles twitching. You think I am beautiful? Yes. Clearly this has short-circuited your everything. I apologize. Next time I'll open with mildly passable and work up from there. She touched her temple, then looked at her fingers like they weren't part of her. You're not from here. Nope. Very lost, very stranded, very compliment-prone. She exhaled, a slow shaking sound. Your words activated a neural lock response. My body assumed I was in danger. Because I complimented you? It is an unusual trigger. Rex rubbed the back of his neck. Okay, just so we're clear, I didn't mean to emotionally assassinate you. She tilted her head. That is not how I would describe it. He offered her a hand. She hesitated, then took it. Her touch was warm, firm, cautious. I'm Rex, he said. Pilot, occasional survivor, frequent idiot. Tirsha, she replied slowly. Scientist, outcast, and apparently neural hazard. They looked at each other. Then she blinked, ears twitching. He grinned. Well, Tirsha, want to help me not die out here? She considered. Only if you stop saying dangerous things. I make no promises. Rex was beginning to suspect that Tirsha's version of helping came with a liberal interpretation of gravity and an aggressive disregard for terrain. She walked like the land was hers to command. Long strides over knife-edge ridges, hopping across glowing root bridges like a dancer with absolutely no respect for physics. Rex, meanwhile, followed with the elegance of a man whose boots had declared mutiny. At one point, he stepped on something that hissed, puffed a lavender gas cloud, and caused his right leg to go entirely numb. I think my foot just broke up with me, he muttered, dragging himself forward. It's refusing to participate in this relationship. Tirsha didn't turn around. The gas is temporary. It affects nervous systems that rely on linear signal transmission. That's a very polite way of saying it turned me into a limp noodle. You'll regain function in 4 minutes. Approximately, Rex squinted up the path she was climbing. Have you considered inventing an escalator? She paused, looked back, ears twitching. Later? Moving stairs, earth marvel, elevates you without emotional trauma. She raised a brow. Weak-legged marvels. He flopped onto a ledge beside her when he caught up, panting. We call it efficiency, also civilization. You may have heard of it. Her eyes scanned the distance. I've heard many things, most are disappointing. Rex chuckled, then followed her gaze. The land unfolded into a wide basin below, twisting rock spires and vibrant mineral pools steaming with bioluminescent gas. Far beyond, nestled against a cliff face, was a flickering light, faint and inconsistent. There, she said, a relay outpost, very old, but still partially active. Please tell me it has snacks. Possibly power, possibly shelter, possibly ancient defensive systems set to vaporize intruders. I'll take my chances. I've eaten fleet rations. They descended through terrain that hummed beneath their boots. The crystals embedded in the stone pulsed like heartbeats. Occasionally, something unseen chittered through the underbrush, and Rex decided not to ask what it was. He learned that asking questions on alien worlds often led to more running than answers. Tirsha seemed unaffected by the tension. or perhaps she was simply accustomed to it. Rex caught her watching him once as he slipped on a slope and cursed eloquently in 3 Earth languages and one borrowed Martian insult involving fish. "You curse with creativity," she said. "I aim for emotional clarity. You hit absurdity. I accept that." The outpost was barely intact. Half buried in moss and mineral growth, its once sleek walls were cracked and coated in vines that pulsed faintly with blue light. A rusted drone carcass lay sprawled near the entrance, its limbs folded like a dead spider. "Is it dead?" Rex asked. "It hasn't moved in decades," Tirsha said, "unless it's pretending." "Please don't say things like that." Inside, the air was stale but breathable. A single console flickered dimly. Rex approached it with all the caution of a man defusing a vending machine after it ate his last credit. Tirsha touched the panel. Her fingers danced across the ancient interface like she was reading a forgotten language. Because she was. Symbols rearranged themselves under her touch, humming softly. "You can read this?" Rex asked. "Barely. My ancestors left this script behind when they fled the cities." He peered over her shoulder. "What do the buttons do?" "Possibly open doors. Possibly activate anti-personnel mines." "Comforting." With a hiss, a side panel slid open, revealing a narrow chamber with what looked like a meditation platform, a tangle of inactive screens, and, most importantly, a preserved emergency supply crate. Rex lunged for it like a starving raccoon. "If this has a protein bar that doesn't taste like recycled shoe, I'm declaring this trip a success." The crate yielded rations that were, at best, ambiguously edible. Tirsha examined one with the delicacy of a scientist dissecting a new life form. "This one vibrates slightly," she said. "Vibrating means it's working. It smells like desperation and old socks. Authentic Earth cuisine." They ate in the quiet hum of the outpost, leaning against opposite walls, passing a flask of water flavored faintly with metallic regret. The quiet was oddly companionable. After a time, Tirsha asked, "Why did you say it?" Rex blinked. "Say what?" "That I was beautiful." He paused. The question wasn't casual. It was sharp and cautious, like she was probing a wound to see if it still hurt. "Because you are," he said simply, "and not in some alien exotic way. Just you. You're striking, unique, strong." Her ears twitched, uncertain. "No one says that. Not to me. They clearly lack taste. It's not our standard." "Then your standard is broken." She stared at him, not offended, not flattered exactly. More like she was trying to solve an equation that refused to balance. "Do humans lie for affection?" she asked. "Some do," he said. "I don't. I lie for card games and bad movies. Compliments? Those are free range." She tilted her head. "And you offer them carelessly." He shrugged. "Honestly, which can look careless, I guess." A long pause. "My kind don't handle sincerity well," she said. "It disrupts equilibrium. You had a full-body shutdown because I said you were pretty. I'd call that more than a disruption." She smiled then. Small, cautious, unexpected. "Do not say it again." "I won't," he said, grinning, "unless it's strategically important." The console beside them beeped softly. Tirsha moved to it, frowning. "What is it?" Rex asked, standing. "External energy signature. Artificial. Mobile." He stiffened. "Drone?" She nodded slowly. "One of the old machines, probably reactivated by your shuttle's beacon." "Friendly? Doubtful. Armed?" "Almost certainly." Rex groaned. "I knew this day was going too well." She tapped the panel. "We should move before it gets close enough to scan this location." "Do we run?" She paused. "I know a faster way, but it requires trusting me. Trust is my middle name." "I thought it was occasional idiot." "Depends on the form." She led him to a tunnel at the back of the outpost, sealed with a shimmering field. She stepped through it like it was air. Rex followed and felt his skin tingle like he just licked a battery. On the other side, the walls were lined with crystalline veins that pulsed as they walked. The tunnel led deeper, the hum of the machine growing distant behind them. As they moved into the darkness, Rex glanced at her. "Hey, Tirsha." She looked over. Just for the record, he said, that was the best vibrating ration bar I've ever had. She rolled her eyes. Your standards are both amusing and concerning. Thank you. I work hard to be alarming in multiple ways. She shook her head, but her ears twitched again. Not alarmed this time. Something softer. Maybe amused. And somewhere far behind them, the outpost flickered. Then something old and mechanical stirred awake. They emerged from the tunnel into a hollowed-out basin surrounded by towering obsidian trees that sparkled with circuitry beneath the bark. The trunks hummed softly as if remembering old music, and between their roots light drifted lazily, like it had gotten lost and decided to take a nap. Tirsha said nothing for a long time, walking ahead with the grace of someone who belonged here, who had once been part of the world before it forgot her. Rex followed, blinking against the low bioluminescence that painted everything in hues of electric blue and deep green. He checked his wrist pad again, mostly out of habit. It still refused to acknowledge anything about this place. No coordinates, no readings, no warnings. Just a faint, static pulse, like the planet was humming its own lullaby, one the pad couldn't translate. So, Rex said, carefully avoiding a puddle that shimmered with the promise of mild hallucinations. What are the odds this place is rigged to explode if I sneeze too loud? Tirsha gave him a sideways glance. Low, but not zero. Not zero. He nodded solemnly. I'll do my best not to sneeze. They moved deeper into the glade, where a stone monolith rose from the earth like a relic waiting for someone to remember it. Symbols ran down its sides, pulsing in rhythm with Tirsha's presence. She placed her hand on it, and the glyphs flared briefly, recognizing her like an old friend with mixed feelings. This was a gateway, she said. Once it linked the outposts. We used it to travel, safely, silently, but the network collapsed after the sundering. Sundering? That's ominous. It was bureaucratic. She wrinkled her nose. And then apocalyptic. In that order. Ah, so basically, like everything the Interplanetary Council touches. She smiled faintly, tracing a path along the monolith's face. But this one still has a residual charge. Enough for a single transmission, maybe more. Rex crouched, examining a shattered drone embedded in the earth nearby. Its chassis rusted and cracked. Do I want to know what it's transmitting to? Home, she said softly. If home still listens. There was a pause, then he asked quieter. Will they come for you? She didn't answer right away. Just stood there, her red skin glowing faintly under the tree's light, ears twitching with some unreadable thought. They will not be happy, she said eventually. They will see me and you and call it heresy. Rex scratched the back of his neck. Do you have a word in your language for just friends who escaped a murder bot and shared a ration bar that vibrated weirdly? No, she said. We do have a word for cataclysm sparked by affection. He groaned. Perfect. Behind them, the air shifted, a low hum. Then movement, swift, deliberate, mechanical. The drone that had tracked Rex's crash had finally caught up. It hovered on the far edge of the basin, black and gold and very serious about ending someone's day. Tell me that's the friendly version, Rex said. No, Tirsha said. That's the one that disassembles before it asks questions. The drone issued a chirp and locked on. Rex dove as a blast of blue energy lanced past him and carved a chunk out of a tree. I don't suppose your rock friend has a secret turret number, but I have this. Tirsha reached into the moss and pulled free a slender cylinder that shimmered like heat haze. She flung it at the monolith. The moment it struck, the air cracked like thunder underwater, and a pulse of energy surged outward, knocking the drone back. For a second, everything glowed. The monolith roared to life. A circle of light unfurled in the air beside it, spinning with impossible depth. Stars, paths, equations drifting across its surface like dreams made geometric. Portal? Rex asked, breathless. Portal, she confirmed. The drone recovered and fired again. Rex grabbed her hand. Ladies first? You'd only trip on the way through. Entirely possible. They leapt together. The world bent. Colors shifted into shapes. Time folded like a lazy accordion. Rex had the brief sensation that his spine had politely left the room, and then he was falling forward onto something soft and strange. And they landed in a garden of crystalline flora beneath an artificial sky painted with digital constellations. All around them were the ruins of what had once been a hub, a city of her people, built from living material and humming with memory. Ghostly outlines shimmered where towers used to be. Drones, long inert, lay like beetle shells along the path. Tirsha rose slowly, eyes wide. I didn't think it would still be here, Rex whistled. Nice view. Very post-apocalyptic chic. This was where I trained, where I questioned everything. She turned. Where they told me I did not belong. He tilted his head. What now? I send the message, she said, and wait. Wait for judgment, or understanding, or both. She nodded. They climbed the central spire together. At the top, a console waited, covered in vines. She brushed them aside, revealing a core still pulsing with light. With careful fingers, she activated the beacon and spoke. The language was sharp, fluid, layered with meaning Rex couldn't hope to decode. But he understood the tone. Strength, truth, maybe a little defiance. When she finished, the beacon shimmered and launched the message into the sky, a beam of data and light slicing through the simulation like a scream disguised as a prayer. And then they waited. Hours passed. Rex counted the stars, played a game with himself, trying to guess which constellations were real and which were just there to keep someone company. Tirsha sat in silence, her long ears twitching with the rise and fall of uncertainty. Then the response came, a soft, warm chime, a series of lights flickering in rhythm. The console spoke back, not with rejection, not with cold denial, but with cautious, genuine acknowledgement. Tirsha didn't cry, but her hands trembled. Rex looked at her. Is that a good sign? They listened, she said, voice thick. He smiled. Told you. Just needed the right spokesperson. She turned to him. You changed everything. I mostly just crashed into the wrong planet and complimented the wrong person. The right person, she corrected. There was a moment, silent, charged, waiting. Then he said softly, You know I can't stay forever. I know. They'll send a recovery team once the beacon pings them. I'll be dragged back into paperwork and therapy sessions where I swear I'm fine. She smiled faintly. I will continue the work here. Maybe reopen the network. Teach others that connection does not have to mean conformity. He reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. I hope, he said, they realize what they almost lost. So do I. They stood together at the edge of the tower, watching as the false sky gave way to something real. A small ship blinked into orbit, the rescue team, right on time, for once. I'll tell them you saved me, Rex said. You'll lie? I'll tell them you're terrifying, brilliant, and made me question my standards. True, and deeply overdue. He laughed, then stepped back toward the platform as the ship began its descent. Hey, he said, glancing back one last time. You're beautiful. She didn't freeze this time. She smiled. Strong, unapologetic. I know.